So even though in reality, it might take a long time for the UK government to make a decision based on your asylum application. Now, this gives some people the wrong impression about asylum. They feel because a decision has not been made, that means they are allowed or they are free to remain in the UK indefinitely. No. How the system works is that when you seek asylum in the UK, initially you're not allowed to work. The government takes care of you to a certain extent. You're not allowed to work, yes, but at some point, under certain conditions, you will be allowed to work. Now, if your decision or if your own application takes a very long time before government makes a decision on it, within that time, you are allowed to do so many things. People begin to lead their life. They even start a family. They get a job. They begin to live life as normal as they can. So some people come under the impression that seeking asylum is a way, or is a shorter way to freedom in the UK, or is a shorter way to getting indefinite leave to remain in the UK. It doesn't work that way. At some point, someday, a decision will be made in your case. And when that decision is made, you must, if that decision is not in your favor, at that point, you must leave the UK. It's either you leave voluntarily or the system forces you out of the UK. But it's not always easy for the system or the UK government to deport failed asylum seekers. Now, this is where we're going to look at three major reasons why it is really not that easy for UK government to deport asylum seekers, failed asylum seekers in this case. When a decision has not been made in your case, at that point, you are a free man. You can do virtually anything you want to do. But at the moment a decision is made in your case and it is not in your favor, like I said before, you must leave or the system forces you out. But the system cannot automatically pick you and throw you out. Under the same obligation they have, that the UK has, to provide protection for anyone who is genuinely seeking asylum, that same treaty or the gamut of international law generally also requires the UK to ensure, to guarantee exactly who you are, the identity of the person, your real nationality, where you came from, before they can deport you, because they cannot just deport you to just any country. So one of the problems why it takes time or it becomes intractably difficult for the UK to deport foreign nationals whose their asylum application has failed, one of the major problem is the problem of identification. The UK must positively identify who you are and what country you came from, so that they can not make the mistake in deporting you to a different country. UK is not Trump's America that can deport foreign nationals to just any country that is not their country of origin. UK is a law-respecting nation. They respect international law as much as they can. So they must first of all confirm where you are from, what country, what nationality you have, so that they can deport you to the right country. Now, this is where the agreement that Tinubu signed with the UK government comes into play. Sometimes it is very difficult to confirm Nigerians who are actually Nigerians, because sometimes these failed asylum seekers, they don't have Nigerian passports. What they have may have expired and may not be available, may not be found anymore, may have been damaged, destroyed, or stolen, or lost for whatever reason. So if you cannot lay hand on any passport for any particular person, you cannot just say that that person is a Nigerian and then take him to Nigeria. But under this agreement that has just been signed between the UK and Nigeria, under the instrumentality of the government of Tinubu, what now happens is that if UK is really convinced that a person, a particular individual whose asylum application has failed, is truly a Nigerian, then UK can draw up a letter addressed to Nigerian government identifying this individual as a Nigerian, that they are convinced and they believe that this person is a Nigerian, and therefore they must accept him or her as a Nigerian. So at that point, with that letter, when it is written and sent to Nigeria, Nigerian government is now under obligation, going by the letters of this agreement that has been reached, to accept that letter as a positive form of identification of that person as a Nigerian, and then take him back from the UK. So this agreement has now taken away the very first and most difficult debacle or problem that UK government have faced all this while in deporting Nigerians back home. This agreement has taken care of it. Now, the second problem is legal appeals. When a decision has been made and is not in your favor as an asylum seeker, What it automatically means is at that point, you are no longer lawfully in the UK, or it is assumed you are no longer lawfully in the UK. However, that decision that is not in your favor is subject to your right of appeal. You can appeal against that decision. So that your right of appeal is second major impediment that the UK government has against their decision to remove every third asylum seeker. People can go on appeal based on various reasons, including fundamental human rights. That's on the ground of fundamental human rights, medical claims, right of family life, and what have you. There are so many reasons why people can go on appeal to decide against that decision against them to leave the United Kingdom. Now, this appeal can take years or months in the list. This adds on top of whatever time you've already spent in the UK, and time will continue to count. Now, this is a major problem that the UK government is trying to resolve. But the agreement, or the bilateral agreement that Tinubu just signed, has nothing to do with this particular problem. It only resolves the first problem that the UK government has, which is about identification of certain individuals. But this number two problem that UK government has nothing to do with the agreement that the Tinubu government just entered with the UK. Now, reason number three, or the third problem that UK governments have about removing third asylum seekers, is what I call political and diplomatic factors. Now, you must understand that migration is not 100% about law. No. Migration is, in fact, 90% politics. The law might say one thing, but politics mostly determines migration policy, immigration policy of any country. UK, number one. So the politics of migration sometimes makes it easier or more difficult for UK government to remove a third asylum seeker. Countries negotiate, countries strategize. The relationship between two countries, in this case, the relationship between the UK and Nigeria, determines the ease with which UK can deport Nigerians from the UK. Where Nigerian government does not easily cooperate with the UK government in their decision to deport Nigerians, which before now seems to have been the case, it is a lot more difficult for UK government to deport Nigerians, even though they are in Nigeria unlawfully. If not for any reason, for everything we have discussed so far, I have mentioned the problem of positive identification of a person to even determine whether he's a Nigerian. That alone is where, if cooperation of Nigerian government is taken away, it becomes a lot more difficult for UK government to deport Nigerians back home. Now, this third reason that I've given you, which is politics and diplomatic relationship, is a very major issue as well, where Nigerian government continues not to cooperate or not to make it a lot easier for UK government to deport Nigerians. Then, no matter what they do, it will continue to be more difficult. But the spirit and the letters of this current agreement, as we are reading, I must admit, I have not seen the whole agreement from first to the last page. From what we are reading in the papers, the part of it that we've seen here and there, if it is exactly what it is, then what it means is that Nigerian government has taken a different posture in their relationship with UK government in terms of making it a lot easier for UK to deport Nigerians who are unlawfully in the UK. Note that, who are unlawfully in the UK, not to send every Nigerian who is in the UK back home, but the ones who are unlawfully in the UK. This developing relationship, going by this agreement, is now beginning to make it, or is now going to begin to make it a lot easier for the UK government to now deport Nigerians who are unlawfully in the UK.